Hey listeners, welcome to a very special episode here on The Root of All Success. You know, as a current or frequent listener of this show, you probably know that every once in a while, when I'm a guest on someone else's show, we release that episode, their episode, as a special episode on my show. And today is one of those occasions. I've got a good friend named Ryan Koral who hosts a show called Grow Your Video Business. He's an amazing videographer, has a videography business in Michigan, and we met through a mastermind that we were a member of. And he invited me back in September of 2024 to be a guest on his show. And he titled that episode, Building a Video Business That Doesn't Need You, with the Real Jason Duncan. And it was such a good episode. Ryan's such a great guy, great personality. And I wanted you to hear his interview of me from his show today on episode number 281 of The Root of All Success. I hope that you enjoy it, and make sure you go and not only follow and listen to this show, but go listen to Ryan's as well.
I think consistency is really, really important because consistency outperforms intensity every day. You know, it's not the intense force of the water that carves the canyon. It's the consistent force of the water over time that carves the canyon. So if you want to be successful, short bursts of intensity isn't going to get you there. It's consistency that's going to make it work.
Having consistent time, daily or weekly, where you're working on your business, that's going to help. But if you're only working on your business when you're like, okay, I finally got some free time today or this week, so let me figure out, well, shoot, what should I be working on today on my business? It's like, if you have a plan and you can use something like a calendar, for me, that's been really helpful to have a repeating time in my calendar.
This is one thing that I harp on with my clients is like, you can't manage time. Time ticks whether or not you're doing anything or not. But you can manage your focus. So what you've done by using your calendar, you said, hey, I'm going to block out this amount of time to be focused on this activity. And if you continue to do that over a long period of time, your focus will pay dividends, because focus stands for follow one course until successful. And if you can follow one course until successful, you're going to outperform all of your peers who are still trying to manage their time. It's about focus. It's not about time. It's about focus. So how are you using your time to focus appropriately?
On episode 412 of the podcast, we talk about the difference between owning a job and owning a business. There is a difference. We also cover the importance of delegation and systems for business growth, and also how consistency outperforms intensity in business and life. Here we go. What's up, my filmmaker friend? It is Ryan from the Grow Your Video Business Show. I'm super excited that you are here, because what that tells me is that you are interested in growing your video business. I love that, and I am rooting for you. This month marks the 20th anniversary of me being incorporated, actually running this business. I left a full-time salaried job. I was working at a small Christian college, barely making anything, but that's where I learned how to shoot and edit. That's where I started learning, and I just said, I have to do this work full time. And so I left the college 20 years ago, and my wife and I were newly married, and it just said, like, let's just give this a shot. Like, it was one of those things where I could stay up till like 2 a.m. editing, and it felt like it was still like 9 p.m. Like hours would go by. And I can almost guarantee that you have felt that at some part in your journey, but at some point it can get really heavy, and it can feel like a lot, and it can feel overwhelming, and you can feel like you don't have nearly the amount of clients or the amount of revenue that you want or need. And my heartbeat behind this brand is to help bring some tools to you that you can apply and find things that resonate with you, to help you find more clients, or to help you get the courage and confidence that you need to charge more money. Being a slave to your business is probably not what you set out to do. It's probably not something that you desire. And my hope is for you to be able to build systems and things inside of your business so that you can experience more freedoms, and so that you can experience like what should a business owner's life look like. So that's my hope in doing this show. And before we get into the episode, I just want to let you know that this is the month that we are taking applications for our mastermind. I lead a couple of different masterminds for filmmakers, and in January we are launching our new cohorts. So now is the time to apply. When you apply, we'll have a quick interview to see if, just to make sure that you don't have any questions, make sure that you're a good fit. And the requirements: you need to have hit 100,000 in revenue, and you need to be doing this work full time. Outside of that, we've got people inside of the group that are all over the place in their video business journey, some that are new, some that have been doing this for a long time. And so it's a beautiful mix of people who are there to support each other, to give feedback and insights, and really root each other on. So if you don't have a community of people that are doing that for you, if you don't have a group of filmmakers that are doing that for you, it's a really special thing. And I think the community that I've cultivated, it's pretty amazing and beautiful in all of those things. So if you feel like, 2025, you want something different, maybe you feel stuck, or you just feel super isolated, or you're just like ready to take things to the next level, the mastermind might be the perfect fit for you. So I invite you to apply. Learn all about the mastermind. You can listen to a bunch of testimonies of people that have been through the mastermind multiple times if you go to studiosherpas.com/mastermind. That's studiosherpas.com/mastermind. So go check that out and apply now, because we're actually going to have a bonus session in December, and we'll kick things off officially in January. But I don't want to be doing I don't want to be doing interviewing in December, quite frankly. So get your applications in, and once the groups fill up, then they're filled up, and you'll have to wait until the next time that we open the mastermind. So that's all I have to say about that. Again, studiosherpas.com/mastermind. With that, let's get into today's episode. What's up, friends? Hey, welcome to this episode that almost didn't happen because I didn't hit record. Today, my guest is the real Jason Duncan. Jason is a business coach. He's an author, podcaster, and he is my friend. What's up, the real Jason Duncan?
Hey, man, Ryan, I am glad to be here. I'm coming to you from the beautiful Smoky Mountains of East Tennessee at our cabin over here, and it is a gorgeous day, and I'm doing this outside on the deck.
It is absolutely gorgeous. It sort of looks like it's like, oh, Jason he's got one of those virtual backgrounds that looks amazing and picture perfect. But could you just jump in the hot tub real quick to prove to everybody that the background is real?
It's real. It's real water.
Oh man. So I am shocked. I had to Google like your name and my name, because I'm like, how has Jason not been on this show before? Like, what the heck? And I couldn't find any evidence. So this is the first time that we're podcasting together?
You know what? I had the memory too that we had done this before. So maybe we just dreamt it. I'm not sure what happened.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you're the man of my dreams or something like that. So we met, 3 years ago, maybe, in Graham's mastermind.
Yeah.
I don't know how long ago, but it was a while ago. And I've always been impressed with, really what you built, what you've done, where you kind of came from, and, exit without exit. Wait, is that how you say it? Exit without exiting?
You got it.
Yeah, I got that right. Yeah. I just think, I remember in 2016 when I read the book Built to Sell, and that was the first time that I realized, like, this is my problem. I'm like the cog in the middle of the business that everything revolves around me. Everything, I'm the bottleneck. I'm the thing that I am required. And I want to build something that doesn't require me. I want to have the freedom, like if I want to, come visit you for a couple of weeks in Tennessee, like I can do that. And the business will continue to operate, and not just operate, but will thrive, not just survive. Right. So just take us back to like, where did you come from? Tell us about your first business, and when did you realize that, hey, this is something that I want to do, and then this is something that I think I've kind of figured out a model to be able to help other people.
In 2010, I was a school teacher who was not getting his contract renewed for the following school year because of the budget cuts coming out of the Great Recession. And I had to make a decision about the next stage of my career. And I made the decision, although somewhat reluctantly, to go into business ownership. And I really didn't know what entrepreneurship was. I just certainly didn't know how to spell the word. But I thought I'm gonna start a business. And so I started this business based primarily on the fact that I knew how to sell, because I'd been in sales before and I knew how to sell. I thought I can sell anything. So let me get into this business. And I started that business. And over the course of the next 6 to 7 years, I built a very successful multi-million-dollar business. We ended up getting recognized in Inc. magazine a couple of times, Entrepreneur magazine, a lot of other awards locally and nationally. And I thought, man, this is the pinch me life. I was making $38,000 a year the last year I taught school. And now, let's just say I'm making a lot more than that. So things were going really, really well. Well, in 2019, 9 years passed. I made a decision to exit for a relationship with my business partner at the time. And that's a whole nother long story that was a big saga. But in any case, that year, 2019, I spent most of that year fighting off what I thought was going to be lawsuits and potential bankruptcy because of that separation from my business partner. Good or bad, or whether it should have happened is a whole other subject. But I was fighting that off. Well, that whole year, I was maybe putting in about a third of my energy into the business. The other 2/3 was trying to keep the business alive by not going in bankruptcy or not being sued, by my ex-business partner. And we got to the end of the year and we lost money for the first time ever in the history of the company. I mean, we were profitable the very first year we opened, and we were a 7-figure bottom line company. We were doing really well. And in 2019, we lost money. And when we lost that money, I was working with a business coach at the time, and I said, "Hey, what happened here?" And he said, "Well, you weren't paying attention and you're the business." And for the first time, I realized that this is not a recipe for long-term productivity and long-term efficiency and long-term success as an entrepreneur. If the business relies on me that much, then this is just a job. This is really high-paying job. This is not ownership. And that's when everything started to shift for me. It was in 2019.
And so take us through, like, what happened? What was next?
So I told my business partner, I said, well, or my business coach rather, I said, well, why don't let's just sell the company. Let's just sell it. And he goes, you can't sell it. He goes, the reason you want to sell it is the reason another person won't want to buy it. Those things don't match. And so I had to go kind of internal and think, well, what do I do to get myself out of the weeds of operations? Because I don't want to step back in and have to do 50 hours a week to get this thing back where it goes. And so that's when the exit without exiting philosophy started to become a reality for me. Now, I didn't call it that at first, but over the course of the year 2020, of course, we dealt with the COVID pandemic, that stupid stuff that I still can't believe our whole world went through that crap. But anyway, that's a whole other subject. But that seriously affected us on another level, because we were doing 90% of our work was in hospitals across the country. So that also affected us. But I was committed to not getting back into the weeds of operations. I knew that as an entrepreneur who had been very successful, if I could build a business that didn't rely on me, I would not only have a much more valuable business, but I'd have a much more pleasurable and beneficial life. And so I exited fully in 2020. I stepped away. I was able to transition daily operations to my team at first, and then to another company who ultimately took over everything in the company. And that's how Exit Without Exiting was born, and ended up writing a book about it.
So, I would say that a lot of us, you get into video production because you love telling stories and capturing beautiful imagery. And so there's this addiction, and then there's this high when a client says, like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing. We love this so much." And, or there's more opportunities for just strokes of our ego when the video goes viral, and it's like, "Oh my gosh, look at all these views that this video that we produced." So to have a feeling of one day thinking why would I?
Let's take a quick break to thank our amazing sponsors for making this podcast possible.
I finally got it. It's the brand new Relay credit card. So check it out. I'm gonna do a little unboxing for you so you can check this out. So here we go. Nice little case, kind of like the American Express. You know, they're not playing. They're doing it right. Oh, look at this. There's a quote right inside that says, "Success is having to worry about every damn thing in the world except money." Johnny Cash. That's pretty good. I've not heard that one. Oh, this is nice. A little thing on the back, up to 1.5% cash back, no annual fees or interest, 30-day billing cycle. And there it is. It's the Relay credit card. It's a Visa. So I'm not going to show you my number, but there it is. Look at that. Boom. Go to therealjasonduncan.com/relay.
Thanks for listening to our sponsors. Now, back to the show.
I ever want to step away from this? Like, I know there's so many people listening to this episode that are like, Ryan, what are you talking about? Why would you start a business that you wouldn't want to run? Like, you know, we get to tell these amazing stories. And well, when you've been doing it for 20 years and you know, you've got a family and you've got other things and other passions. Like, my business is not my greatest passion. I'm so passionate about it, but it's not like, that's not my thing. Like, I mean, I do think about it a lot, but like, there are other things that I want to do in my life, and ultimately, I just want the choice,
Yes.
and the opportunity. You know, I think exit without exiting to me just means like the business doesn't rely on me anymore, right? Like, sure, I can speak strategy and come up with ideas and still do sales because I'm so passionate about this, but it doesn't need me to move the needle anymore. And that's, I think, for so many of us, we just get stuck as being the person who is, you know, I'm the boss and every big question has to be asked of me. And it just feels like a trap.
It is a trap. That's called the ironic prison of entrepreneurship. And you use the word choice. And here's the first and last choice most entrepreneurs make is to start the business. Because beyond that,
oh man,
they don't get to make the choices anymore because they have chosen to start a job, although they thought they were starting a business. And listen, and I want to say this too, because I think there's a lot of people who talk down to owner operators, which is something I don't ever want to be. But look, if you want to be an owner operator and you're completely cool with that, and you're ready to ride into the 60s and 70s, you know, working until you get to the end and you're ready to retire. Listen, if that's you and that's what you want, that's fine. But do not pretend that you are as this entrepreneur and you're in control of your destiny and you own a business when in fact you own a job. Those are two very different things. Business owners aren't always entrepreneurs, and that's okay. We need both, but listen, entrepreneurship is very, very different. It's about something different. And I think the word choice is the optimal word, Ryan, that you used just a minute ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just dive into that a little bit more. Like, you know, we started a job, we created a job. I still think that there's people that are like, what do you mean? Like, I started this company. Like, why is that my last choice?
Well, if you here's a question, kind of a litmus test question. If you were hospitalized unexpectedly for 30 days and had no contact with your team, your business at all, what would happen to your business? And if the answer to that is like most people would say, my business would either completely halt or it would die, or, well, we would hang on there, but it wouldn't last longer than 30 days. Like those are all indications that you've built a job that relies upon you to be there. And you just happen to be the most important cog in that wheel, and everybody relies on you. That is building and owning a job, not building and owning a business. When Steve Jobs passed away, Apple carried on and didn't miss a lick because he understood, even though he was the founder, that at some point he had to move out of owner operator into what I refer to as owner investor. I believe there are 3 tiers in the entrepreneurial evolution. There's owner operator, which is tier 1, owner manager, which is tier 2, and then owner investor. Very few people move into owner investor. Yeah, I can tell you this. There are no billionaire owner operators. They just don't exist. Those billionaires have moved up to tier 3 where they're the owner investor of the business. Steve Jobs built something that outlasted him. But the guy who runs the the Amazon store online, or the e-commerce store, the guy that runs the gun shop down the way, or the ice cream store, or the dress shop downtown. Like, we're never going to know who these people are because they've built a job. It's built around the business, of course, and their name's on the line, but it's just a job. And if you want that, that's fine. But I believe that business ownership, the point of business ownership isn't about owning the business. It's about owning something that provides you the financial resources to live the lifestyle that you desire.
Yeah, I think, you saying like, if you want to be an owner operator, that's fine. But I think the part that people don't realize, like, hey, I'm going to start a business. I love video and I'm going to start this business. But what we don't realize is if we probably didn't own a business before, so this is probably our first real business. As soon as you know that there is a different way, because I think a lot of people would just think like, yeah, I'm just like, I'll do this and do it forever. But like, to know that you could be an owner operator, or you can be an owner manager, or you can be an owner investor, and that this is what life looks like, in each tier, and this is what your actual day-to-day looks like in these different tiers. And I know for me, one of the areas that I got really burned out when I started hiring employees and having other people, because I was like, okay, here's how I do it. I get other people to go film, and I get other people to edit, and then I'm a lot more free. Well, now I've got more people doing work. I've got to hire another manager and another person to be able to do more sales and more producing. But at the end of the day, I was managing all of the people, and goodness gracious, that is not what I want to be doing. Like, I got into this work because I was like, I love people, I love stories, I love visual, I love putting that together. But having a team of 8 people, and like, somebody's like, hey, I can't come in tomorrow. Hey, can I take next week off? Hey, so-and-so is being mean to me. Hey, I accidentally broke the camera. Like, dealing with all of that stuff, I'm like, leave me alone, and like, let's just do the thing that we are supposed to be doing, like making videos for our clients. Like, what happened to that? So yeah,
you are singing the chorus. This is exactly what I work with every single day.
Yes. So for the person who's sitting here now, like, oh my gosh, like, there's another way. Like, tell me more about this, Jason. Like, what is a good, like, for somebody to move out of this owner operator, if they've done it long enough, or they're like, oh my gosh, like, I need to get out, or whatever. Like, what is the path?
Well, an owner operator is focused on activity and revenue. That's what they're focused on. So every day they show up, it's activity, do activity, and then let's focus on revenue. They're not focused on anything other than those two things. An owner manager, to move up, is you have to start focusing on systems. You have to start focusing on the automation of your business. That's what owner managers start doing. So they do have systems, they have employees, they have systems put in place that the employees run, and that gets them out of having to manage the activity, but they're still focused on revenue. Got to get revenue. An owner investor starts focusing on asset over activity and asset over revenue, because they understand now that the business is worth something more than just an annual revenue number. There's actual asset value. So what could you do if you were able to, Mr. or Mrs. Entrepreneur, if you had 30%, or let's say 30 to 50% of your time back every week, your business didn't miss a lick on revenue, continue to produce the same amount of revenue and profitability you did before, but you have 30 to 50% of your time back. What do you do with that? That's when you start looking at ways to build your business as an asset. Because frankly, the law of the architect, which governs how we as entrepreneurs run our businesses, we're the architects of our businesses. The law of the architect tells us that our sole role as an architect of the business is to set the vision, communicate the vision, and build the asset. That's it. Anything outside of that, other people should be doing, because the business is an asset. The business should have value outside of you. You can't be the biggest asset of your business. Your business has to be an asset in and of itself. And that's the biggest thing. So as an owner operator, you're focused on activity and you're focused on revenue. An owner investor is focused on asset. They're not focused on revenue. They're focused on building an asset. So that's designing proprietary systems, designing new IP. Maybe it's buying real estate. Maybe it's looking at specific systems or software that you could take as your own to create asset value. That's what an owner investor does.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I know. It's just like so it's so attractive to think like, oh, what could I have? Man, 30 to 50% back of time because you're not in the daily grind of all the things that is so dreamy. What areas or what system or systems do you see as being like one of the most time consuming or areas that somebody should focus on if they are going to start building systems? So regardless of, I mean, if you're an owner operator, you should build systems anyway so that you could set yourself up for success later, no matter how you want to run your business. But systems are just smart, period. But any recommendations?
Well, ironically, I don't believe, even though we just talked about systems and I mentioned it, that systems aren't the first thing you want to focus on to move through stages, even though an owner manager is more focused on systems than they are assets or activity and revenue. The first step is basic delegation. I developed this methodology called XOS, which stands for Exit or Operating System. And it's 7 stages that takes you through how to get to an exit. And stage 1 is basic delegation, because that's where the mindset really affects most entrepreneurs, which is why they stay owner operators for most of their careers, is they don't have a mindset to delegate and trust other people. They see themselves as the hero of the business, and they have what I call the hero syndrome. They swoop in and save the day every day, and that keeps them stuck. So basic delegation is step 1. And then we move into stage 2 of the XOS method. And that is all about is getting your support squad around you. You need an assistant. Like every entrepreneur has to have a personal assistant, an executive assistant there to do all of the administrative tasks that you shouldn't be wasting your time on. To put it crassly, if a job is less than $100 an hour job, you need to hire somebody else to do that job. Like minimum wage hours should be for other people, not you as the owner of the business. Yeah. So getting that support squad is stage 2. Then once your support squad's in place and you know how to delegate, then you move to stage 3, which is getting your A team ready. Your A team, these are your upper management people that are going to actually take the helm when you step away. And then stage 4 is when we start paying attention to systems and automation. Because if you start with systems and automation before you do those other 3 things, you will simply have systems and automations that still rely upon you and your specific characteristics, personality, and energy to make happen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's really smart. I mean, delegating, holy cow, having an assistant, oh my gosh, game changer. I mean, I remember I had one assistant back in 2016 that literally changed everything. I mean, she was helping me with just, administrative things around our studio. And we had one other woman working for us, and that lady, she was very part-time, but she's like, hey, I've got to quit. And we're like, oh, bummer. My assistant at that time was like, hey, here's what I think you need. And she handed me this pile of paper, and it said how to know when you need a business manager. And I start I kind of smile, and I'm reading. I'm like, what the heck is a business manager? I'm reading all these things, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, this sounds amazing. She's like, and I want to do this work for you. So I went from, just having an assistant to somebody who is helping manage the people and then creating systems around those people and the jobs and the things. But when you're responsible for all of the things, when it's just you, I mean, think of all, when you do video, it's there's just so many parts. I did a little thing. I think I was doing an intro for an episode, and I was talking about photographers. I'll be on set and I'll see a photographer, and I'm like, man, it must be nice. One camera, a couple of lenses, a little bag, cute little bag, and walking around. And here we are, got, we went on the same trip, and we had $800 worth of checked luggage for all of the gear. I'm like, this is something is wrong here. I'm digressing, but the work that we do is so involved. There's so many parts, and to feel and then, let me spend a couple hours in my email each day, and let me delete this spam blog, email thing. And it's wait, what? Why are we spending? And we just assume I run the business, this is my business, so I got to do all the things. But I think Gino Wickman, one of my business heroes, he says, I mean, he doesn't say $100 an hour. He uses the $20 an hour. He's like, you should never be touching $20 an hour work. Regardless, the mindset is you shouldn't be doing things that are not driving the business. Like, you have a certain gift and skill in the business, and you might be really good at hitting delete on those spam emails, but your time is much better spent elsewhere.
Yeah, I think email is the one thing that entrepreneurs need to figure out how to get out of sooner than anything else. And there are certain automations that you can put in place. I mean, in our business, we use Google G Suite or Workspace, whatever they're calling it now. And there's lots of things in there that help me keep out of email. My goal, I'm not there yet, is to 100% be out of my inbox. I want another human to handle it 100%. I'm not there yet, but I am moving quickly that direction. My inbox stays at 0 at the end of every day. That's my goal every day. It's a 0. And email steals so much of our time. But if we think about the other tasks beside email, there are certain things, and I know you're a creative person, Ryan. I mean, you're in the video space. So you have to be creative in order to be doing that. I think entrepreneurs need to embrace those things that give them joy if they're a creative person. But you have to understand that you've got to limit yourself, because those creative things don't directly generate revenue. I'm a creative guy. I don't know. We've never really talked about this, but I was accepted to 2 art schools. I wanted to design cars for a living. I love line work. I love graphic design. I thoroughly enjoy it. But I don't design my own thumbnails, even though I could probably do it better than most of my people on my team. Why? Because even though I enjoy that, it doesn't drive anything specific to my business. But I do carve out probably at least 3 to 4 hours per week of where I get to do creative stuff. And I don't look at that as doing, even though it's $20 an hour work. I mean, let's be real. I look at that as the way that I get to express myself, and I get to get those creative juices going. So I'm working on a brand new media kit for myself. I could hire that out and I could pay somebody else to do that, but I would miss the opportunity to do it. Well, you know what I'm not doing? I'm not spending hours working on my media kit when I should be working on a client document. I understand the most important thing for me is to serve my clients. They pay me a lot of money. They invest a lot of time and energy into what I'm trying to provide for them. And I'm not going to steal from them by designing a media kit or a new landing page, because I like doing that. And the entrepreneurs get caught in that. And I think block yourself out 3 or 4 hours a week and do those creative things, the things that you like, even though they're $20 an hour, but the rest of it, they got to go.
Yeah. The challenge for video people, it's like, well, this is the creative thing. And, I mean, I got to a point where I'm like, I can't shoot like video for myself because I know it's just going to sit on the shelf. I'm not going to have the time to edit it. And talk about, well, that really stinks, because I got into this because I love doing video in my outlet. Eventually,
Let's take a quick break to thank our amazing sponsors for making this podcast possible.
As an entrepreneur running multiple businesses, effective communication is critical for me. I've tried all kinds of outreach tools over the years, but none have compared to Dubb when it comes to driving real results, and that's DUBB. I was one of Dubb's first users. I think it was like 7 years ago when they first launched, and I've been a loyal customer ever since. Dubb has completely transformed my prospecting, my client communication strategy, and here's why. Dubb makes it simple to record personal video messages and share them across email, SMS, social media, and more. And this brings back the face-to-face connection that's missing from most digital outreach. And what happens is my prospects instantly feel more engaged when they can put my face to my name. I end up building a stronger relationship faster by incorporating these video messaging into my workflow. Dubb also provides tracking and analytics so I can see exactly who engages with my videos and how they respond to them. Their automation and their CRM features help me nurture leads and close more deals. I mean, that's what we're trying to do, right, as entrepreneurs. So after using Dubb for years, I absolutely can't recommend them enough. I mean, Ruben, those guys over there are phenomenal. I love Darius. They're all great guys. It's become an invaluable tool that I depend upon to run my businesses efficiently. And if you want to boost your outreach and see amazing results like I have, head over to therealjasonduncan.com/Dubb, that's DUBB, and you can try it completely for free. No credit card required. You get the first 50% off your first 2 months, by the way, if you use my link. You need to take your prospecting to the next level with video messaging from Dub. They're my go-to sales communication platform for nearly 7 years and counting. Go to therealjasonduncan.com/dub. Try it for free, no credit card required, and you'll get 50% off your first 2 months as well.
Thanks for listening to our sponsors. Now, back to the show.
I bought like a Fuji mirrorless camera a bunch of years ago, and I started taking photos, and I was like, ooh, this is actually really fun. Like, I'm creating beautiful things. It's not moving, so it's one frame. So yeah, I can touch up this one frame, and then, okay, here's a nice little, so that became an outlet for me, which I just thought was so funny. I'm like, this is not nearly as cool as, creating something like a story that's moving people and whatever, but it did become at least an outlet for me that I wasn't getting in this creative business, because everything else I was doing is like, okay, I gotta build some systems, and I gotta do some emails and create a proposal and hire another editor and all that stuff, and no more time for me to shoot because my shooters are better than me, and definitely no time for me to edit because that's just like the biggest time suck in the world.
Yes, yeah, it is. Well, I would say you figure out how you can get all of your business done, all of your dimes covered. The dimes meaning, what does it cost you to run your business and pay everybody? That would be your dimes. You figure out how you can get your dimes covered. And then would you go out and say, look, if you want me, Ryan, to do the work, it's going to be X, which X is going to be multiples higher than what it would be to have everybody else do it. I mean, how cool would that be? Like, everything's covered in the business, everything's running, everybody's doing their job. And you say, look, guys, I'll do some extra creative work. I'll do some shoots. I'll do some editing. But if you want me to do it, it's 10 times what it would cost otherwise. And people will pay for it. I'm looking at that now. Like, I've got a certain amount of money that costs to be part of my Exeter Club mastermind. And then there's a much higher dollar amount to get coached by me personally. Now, like, that's just how it goes. If you want to work with my coaches and in our program, there's a cost to that. Then there's a cost for me. And I think you should be able to think about doing that as well. All of us as entrepreneurs should be able to think about that.
Yeah, that's really good. I'm hoping that we're planting some seeds to invite people to dream about what life and work could look like, to be able to start experiencing some of these freedoms that they probably just forgot that maybe they could have one day. But there's hope. I know one of the other things that you're passionate about is consistency and authenticity, and we'd love to just, those are two favorite topics of mine, but we'd love for you just to vamp on those.
Well, I think in terms of authenticity, to start there, that's who I am, the real Jason Duncan. I want to show up as who I am, right? I'm not interested in pretending to be something I'm not. I am at my cabin, and there is a cool background, but this is actually mine. I did not rent this for the shoot. Like, I don't have a rented Lambo sitting out the parking lot. Like, this is just who I am. This is what I love to do. I would live here. I would love to live here. My wife is not on board with that yet, but we're working on it. So, but
not yet.
Like, I'm going to show up as me. I'm going to show up. I smoke a cigar every once in a while. I have a glass of bourbon. I like to ride motorcycles. I like to go camping, and I'm not gonna apologize for that. I'm also a very passionate and dedicated follower of Jesus Christ, and I don't make any bones about that. I don't run a Christian organization for my coaching program, but people know that's who I am. They know that that's what I'm going to represent. So I think authenticity is really important. And so many people on Instagram today, it's just everything's so fake. It just doesn't, it's not real. And I think we need to be real. Now, consistency, I think consistency is really, really important, because consistency outperforms intensity every day of the week. It's not the intense force of the water that carves the canyon. It's the consistent force of the water over time that carves the canyon. So if you want to be successful, short bursts of intensity isn't going to get you there. It's consistency that's going to make it work.
Yeah, that's really good. I hadn't heard that analogy before, but I've seen it even in my own I can't remember, I've probably heard this numerous times about like working out, and it's like, hey, if you could only, maybe you can't do a full, 60-minute. And so in the past I'd be like, well, I don't have 60 minutes. So like, forget about it. But to hear like, hey, if you don't have 60, what about 30? It's like, well, I'm still like pretty busy. I didn't sleep that. What about 10 minutes? I'm like, well, okay, maybe. Okay. Can you do something for 5 minutes? Can you get your heart rate up for 5 minutes? I'm like, well, shoot. Yeah. If I don't have 5 minutes, like what the heck? Like there's something wrong there. Creating that rhythm and that consistency, even at 5 minutes, has grown, right? It's like, I'm like, oh, okay, now I'm making a priority over something, and it just becomes easier because I've made it a part of my life. And, here we are, 400 plus episodes in this show.
Wow.
And when we first started the show, the joke was like, okay, let's name the first episode, it's 001. Because like, you know what, like I mean, maybe we will. But at that point, it's like I had never been consistent like in any content creation. Like it was just like, well, I don't know, let's make a YouTube video once every 8 or 12 months. But we just said like, hey, this could be an important part of how we're going to market. Let's do it. And then it became like, it was super fun from the beginning, but went through seasons of like, man, this is pretty hard and we're pretty busy, but we locked in and eventually we're like, hey, let's do, like today I've got 5 podcast interviews. So, we figured out how we can do this and keep it consistent and keep the passion and the drive and stuff there. But, it starts with, I think starting with the end in mind, and like, what do you really want? And for me, I want to outlive, right? I've read Peter Attia's book. I don't know if you into his stuff at all, but I read that at the end of last year, and I'm like, I want to be healthier. I want to be stronger. And here I am, 46 years old. I'm probably the strongest and the most healthy outside of like the back surgery that I had and the Achilles tendon repair that I had, outside of those two things since like I was 23 years old. But it came from like baby steps, not all of a sudden, doing like, 400-pound squats or anything like that. I'm just consistent in what I'm doing, and it's working. And, just the drive, the thing, being a business owner, leading people, helping your clients, showing up and having a plan and creating consistency, that I think is the thing that can bring you to a place where you feel like I 2 years ago, 5 years, 10 years ago, I'd have been like, wait, what? And here I am, doing things that I love doing. And I just, I feel like I'm rambling right now. So why don't I just hand the mic over to you, Jason? I'm like, where am I going? Where am I going to end? I don't know. I'm just going to end right there.
You just consistently keep talking. That's all you got to do, man.
Hey, at least I'm going to embrace it because I'm authentic and it's just who I am. And, 4 episodes in today, I'm like, okay, what am I talking about?
That's a lot to do in a day, but I know, man, that's us podcasters. That's how we got to roll, man. I used to try to record 1 or 2 a week. That was kind of my consistent thing. And then I got to analyzing my schedule and the energy that it took to do that. I was like, man, I have a good momentum in a week, and then boom, I got to stop and do the podcast.
Yeah.
So I'm shifting mine to where I'm doing once a month, and I'm doing day long, just marathons where I'll record 5 or 6 in a day. And even though it's a long day, that one day, the rest of my month, man, I'm so much more
rest
time.
Of the month is like, I mean, when I started doing the podcast, it was like, well, here's our booking calendar, a couple of hours available on Monday, a couple hours on Tuesday, a few hours on Wednesday. It was like pretty much any day during the week. And so I'd be looking at my schedule and like, oh crap, I'm doing a podcast today. That was not a good way to do this. So if you're thinking about a podcast or creating, weekly YouTube videos, whatever you can to batch, record, or create content, that's the way to do it. Because otherwise, it's a tough go.
And you have to be consistent in that too. You can't just say, well, I'm just going to pick one day and do a bunch of podcasts and then not set that on the schedule for the next month too. You got to be consistent about that over time. So consistency outperforms intensity every day of the week. So make sure that whatever you're doing, whether it's podcasts, writing a book, doing YouTube content, you've got to be consistent. And that also goes with building your business. If you're going to build your business and you're going to learn to delegate, put your support squad in place, put your A team in place, you got to be consistent with them too. Because if you're not consistent, I mean, they're going to live up to your expectations. And if your expectations seem low because you're not consistent,
Yeah.
you're going to live up to those, which is not what you want.
Yeah. And I would say one thing that I think probably has helped me with consistency is years ago, I decided I'm going to live and die as best I can by my calendar, and creating weekly rhythms or daily rhythms or whatever of like, this is the day where I'm deep work, I'm creating, I'm writing, I'm doing marketing, planning marketing or videos or whatever that thing is. So when you're looking at your business and trying to figure out what do you want, what's the next step, having consistent time daily or weekly where you're working on your business, that's going to help. But if you're only working on your business when you're like, okay, if I finally got some free time today or this week, so let me figure out, what should I be working on today on my business? It's like, if you have a plan and you can use something like a calendar. I mean, it sounds like, I don't want it to sound like too simple, but for me, that's been really helpful to have a repeating time in my calendar where I work on my business. It's consistent, and over time, a lot has changed from 20 years ago.
Well,
I mean, a whole lot's changed.
What you're doing with that, Ryan, is all about focus. It's not time management. This is one thing that I harp on with my clients is like, you can't manage time. Time ticks whether or not you're doing anything or not, but you can manage your focus. So what you've done by using your calendar, you said, hey, I'm going to block out this amount of time to be focused on this activity. And if you continue to do that over a long period of time, your focus will pay dividends, because focus stands for follow one course until successful. And if you can follow one course until successful, you're going to outperform all of your peers who are still trying to manage their time. It's about focus. It's not about time. It's about focus. Yeah. So how are you using your time to focus appropriately?
Yeah, that's really good. Write that one down, you guys. Okay, I'll write it down too. Here I go. Jason, this is so fun, man. I'm so glad. I'm just embarrassed that I haven't had you on this show earlier. I was like, what the heck is going on here? But maybe I'll be surprised and look in the archives and be like, oh, no, there he is, episode 229. But seriously, appreciate you taking time out. I hope you and your wife get to have some all weekend, your vacation. You're back on Monday, or what's the scoop?
Yeah, we're here we got here late last night, and today was work days for both of us. Had calls all day today. Yeah. And tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday is just relaxing. We'll head home Sunday night.
Oh, dude, that's amazing. But yeah, I appreciate you. How can people, if they want to connect with you, listen to the podcast, any of that stuff, where's the best way? How do they do that?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for letting me be on the show, and congrats on over 400 plus episodes. I just recorded my 250th episode for my show, and I know how hard that is. And you and I, if you get over 100 episodes, you're in the 1% of podcasters. So you and I are 1%ers. Yeah. So congratulations on that.
Let's go.
And I want to tell your listeners who are listening, whether they're a subscriber or not, make sure you go subscribe to his podcast. This is a good podcast. You need to subscribe. So I'm a guest telling you to subscribe to his show. So make sure you do that. But if you're looking for something else to do, I am the Real Jason Duncan. You can find me online. You can Google the Real Jason Duncan. You can at me on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Instagram, which is where I spend most of my time, at the Real Jason Duncan. And my podcast is there if you're interested in listening to another show. But Ryan, this has been a good conversation, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. How do you want to leave us today, Jason?
I would say, based on what we've talked about today, is consistency outperforms intensity every day of the week. So take that with you. Go be consistent. Pick one thing, be consistent, and you'll see how it changes your life. Love it. Awesome, my friend. Thank you so much, and enjoy your weekend, and hopefully we'll chat again real soon. Thanks, man. All right, my friend, I hope you enjoyed Jason Duncan. Love that dude, and just love that idea of like, what would it look like to build a business that you could exit one day if you really wanted to. Really, really cool stuff. Let me know. Leave a comment or shoot me an email, ryan@studiosherpas.com. Let me know if you had a big takeaway or just another thought or idea that you want to share with me. I would love to hear from you. And don't forget about the mastermind. Now's the time to apply. You can do that at studiosherpas.com/mastermind. And I am rooting for you. I know maybe you listen to my show often and it's mostly a one-sided conversation, but I spend my time and energy working in this brand alongside of my production brand. I do this because I believe that the work that you do matters, and I've
been in situations in my own business, in my own video business, where it gets really, really tough and you feel alone and you don't have any outlets, and you just, you might not know what the next step you should take is. And I want to be a voice for you. I want to be an encourager. I want to introduce you to some other amazing people that have great hearts and that have a similar mindset. And I think that's a lot of why I do this work. It's meaningful. What you do is meaningful. So let me know how I can support you. Again, consider the mastermind. That might be a great fit for you. And I just appreciate you being here. That's all I've got. So I'll see you on the next episode, okay? Till then, bye-bye.
Attention business owners. Attention business owners. Feeling burnout from running your business? Uncertain if you're nearing burnout? Take our free 10-question business burnout test at businessburnouttest.com to discover where you stand. With just 10 quick questions, you'll learn how to immediately begin making changes to regain freedom and success. Cut your daily operations time in half. Improve your quality of life and prepare your business for your future exit without losing revenue or profit. Visit businessburnouttest.com now and take the test. Thank you for listening to another edition of The Root of All Success with the Real Jason Duncan. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, visit therootofallsuccess.com to access the show notes and other helpful resources. Follow Jason on social media at The Real Jason Duncan. See you again next time here on The Root of All Success.